Welcome back to the Vandy Sports Podcast. I'm Joey Dwyer here with some breaking news and some news that feels especially significant for Vanderbilt. The Commodores have landed Evan Taylor, transfer from Lehigh, who averaged 14 points a game last year, shot at 43% from three, and this feels like one that could propel the Commodores over the edge if there's a few more pieces put in place. Now the starting lineup looks something along the lines of Ezra Magnon. If Tyron Lawrence returns, he's the 2. Evan Taylor can play the 3, Colin Smith at the 4, and then someone plays the 5. So Vanderbilt's in a solid spot, a much better spot than it was previously. It's got to get some more talent in the gates and has to get some more veteran leadership, but Evan Taylor's a great place to start. Guy who shot 40% from 3, or over 40% from 3, can get downhill a little bit, get his own shots, and a guy who's performed against high majors, had 20 points against Syracuse in the opener for them last year, had 18 points against Wisconsin. So it's a guy who has proven it against high major competition, a guy who is a veteran and has translatable skills. He can switch out on the perimeter defensively. He's an active defender. He's a guy who has the catch and shoot ability to translate to the SEC. Catch and shoot shooting translates to different leagues all over the country, and Evan Taylor certainly has that. And is also a veteran. He's a guy who is going to give Vanderbilt a lot next season and is going to be a really nice complementary piece to Tyron Lawrence and Ezra Magnon. Should Lawrence return, and is a guy who's going to be a really nice replacement for guys like Jordan Wright and Miles Studi, who went out the door. Taylor is maybe not going to be your star, maybe not your alpha scorer, but it feels like the perfect guy. Kind of play off the ball. Obviously the catch and shoot like we mentioned, but also can attack closeouts at a high level. Can even take his man off the bounce here or there if he needs to get downhill to the rim. Has the size, has the athleticism, the agility to get around the rim and make plays. Is also a bit crafty. I don't know how much that's going to translate on tape to Vandy, but if you look at his Lehigh tape, there's some finishes in there that I don't know that many Vandy guys will attempt to make. So Taylor's a guy who maybe won't be your Tyron Lawrence, maybe won't be your Scottie Pippen Jr. in terms of scoring output or in terms of being the go-to guy, but he's also going to be a guy who comes in, probably is going to be around a double-figure scorer, is going to give Vanderbilt a lot. On the defensive end as well, I think that's something that Jerry Stackhouse liked. He could probably downshift to the 3. He could probably play the 4 in a smaller lineup and still be effective defensively. Is 6'6", can switch, has a nice wingspan, a lot of length and athleticism there. Feels like Evan Taylor is a really nice piece, but Vanderbilt has to add a few more. Isaac Jack was on a visit this weekend, as was Taylor, who actually, I'm not sure if he committed on that visit, but was on that visit, I'm sure made up his mind this weekend, and now is committed to Vanderbilt, and this team seems to have taken a step in the right direction. A week ago, people were panicking because they haven't gotten anybody, but a week ago they got a high school recruit, Jason Rivera-Torres. Evan Taylor committed today, and then Malik Presley is committing on Friday in Vanderbilt. Certainly in the race there, so could be a good 2-week span for Vanderbilt if Presley commits on Friday, and Taylor's certainly a guy that probably will make the most impact out of any of those 3 if Presley commits. And will certainly be a guy who helps Vanderbilt's tournament chances. I think it's also a guy who not only can be a complementary piece to a guy like Magnon or Lawrence, but also is a guy who, if those guys aren't stepping up, he can be the guy who kind of takes the lead and becomes an alpha scorer for a game or two, almost like Colin Smith did this year, and like he projects to do in the future. I think this team could rely on Taylor if Lawrence or Magnon is being guarded tightly or not having their best games. There might be a bit of a drop in production from Lehigh to Vanderbilt. It's kind of what I expect with most transfers coming from the Patriot League. There's good competition there, there's good wings, but not at the level that Vanderbilt faces on a night in and night out basis. There's athletic wings all over the league that will slow down Taylor and will make the adjustment a little bit difficult, but having a veteran like that who can come in and give you minutes and can shoot the way he can, space the floor, and give you the line of versatility that he can. Obviously, a really nice get, and I think also what we need to touch on is the rebounding. If the rebounding translated directly, I think Taylor would be their leading rebounder this year, average 6.5 a game. And I wouldn't say it's because of the Patriot League entirely. I think this is rebounding that maybe won't translate to that level, but he could be a 3 or 4 rebound guy at Vanderbilt, which is really important considering kind of the deficiencies they have in the front court right now. Isaac Jack could help if they can land him. Lee Dort, if he can stay out of foul trouble, will certainly help that. But without Quentin Malloy-Brown, without Liam Robbins, and even Malik Dia to an extent, Vanderbilt's going to have to make up that rebounding somewhere. Jordan Wright was also a really effective rebounder for Vanderbilt, grabbed 15 in the SEC tournament. Taylor's going to be a guy who can come in and help them with that, and can help them kind of fill the gaps there in terms of rebounding. It feels like he was one of their big targets in the portal, and he checks a lot of the boxes that this team needs. So Taylor obviously will be a huge factor for this team, and probably a guy who at least plays starter minutes from day one. I don't know if he's going to start, especially with the way Stackhouse likes to experiment with his lineups early in the year. Taylor's going to be effective, though, and he's going to be a big piece to this team. This team hinges on how Stackhouse can complement a guy like Ezra Magnon, how he can complement Tyron Lawrence, and Taylor's a tremendous start, not only in terms of providing a floor spacer and a guy who can shoot and score. It's a guy who can get downhill. A lot of his field goal attempts aren't from three-point range, and a lot of those are effective. Rebounding is going to help. Defense is going to help. Like I said, he's probably not going to be Scottie Pippen Jr., probably not going to be Tyron Lawrence, but will be a really nice complementary piece, and will probably fill the shoes of a Jordan Wright particularly well. I think he's almost like Miles Studi, but a better shooter throughout this season, and probably gives you a little bit more on the glass. And as a defender, although Studi did make an impact on the glass at times when his shot wasn't falling, Taylor, I think, will do some similar things there, and will fill those shoes that those two guys left nicely. Shot 42% from the field this year, 43% from three. A lot to be excited about here if you're a Vanderbilt fan. And obviously some room to go. Vanderbilt has a few open scholarships, and I think now is in a much better position than it was a few days ago. You look at the starting lineup, and there's something there. You start with Ezra Magnon, like I said, Tyron Lawrence at the 2, Evan Taylor at the 3, Colin Smith at the 4. Got to get a transfer big at the 5, otherwise that's Lee Dort, or you have to go small. And then off the bench, it's Paul Lewis, it's Isaiah West, and then it's some of those freshmen, Jason Rivera-Torres, J.Q. Roberts. A lot of guys could factor in there and give Vanderbilt good minutes. That rotation is going to be long to start the season, but Vanderbilt's got something here, and have to add a few more pieces. But a team that looked dead in the water about a week ago, now with this commitment, becomes a lot more in the conversation to be an NCAA tournament team. Need a few more pieces, though, and Jerry Stackhouse and staff are certainly out trying to get those now. So big couple weeks coming for Vanderbilt. Tremendous start getting Evan Taylor, though, and I think that's what we need to talk about here. Just a really nice piece to this roster. Maybe not the number one guy, but a really solid, probably 2 or 3 guy who can give you some good minutes if he can translate his skill set up. I think there's reason to believe that skill set does translate up. He averaged 20 points, or scored 20 points against Cuse, 18 against Wisconsin, and had some nice performances against the Patriot League's best too. So there's something here, and I don't know if that's going to translate to 14 points per game per se, but it's going to be a guy who's effective, and that's really what Vanderbilt needs at this stage of the portal. Another veteran, another guy who is going to give Vanderbilt some good things. So let me check his eligibility real quick. Admittedly, didn't do quite enough research on that. We got a heads up on this morning. So looks like this will be his 5th and last year, so has 1 year of eligibility. Not going to block some of those young wings, which I think is certainly going to be something that Vanderbilt was looking at. Jason Rivera-Torres is going to have a chance in year 2 or 3 if he opts to stay. If Malik Presley opts to stay for a 2nd or 3rd year, if he commits to Vanderbilt, he'll have an opportunity in year 2 or 3 to have a chance at those starting minutes, and Vanderbilt could always plug that hole in the portal as well. So there's something here, not only for Evan Taylor, not only for Vanderbilt, but for these younger guys too that didn't get blocked. But hey, there's certainly room for them to play this year with how the roster looks right now. But also they don't have to be thrust into a starting role day one, which I think is really, really important for this team. The backcourt set with Ezra Magnon, Tyron Lawrence, Paul Lewis, and Isaiah West. Now the wing looks a lot better as well. Evan Taylor, J.Q. Roberts, and Jason Rivera-Torres for now. The front court's where the question marks lie, though, and I think that's where Vanderbilt needs to really make a splash, and could happen in the next week, could happen in the next month, but it's got to happen. And that's probably the biggest question moving forward is the front court, but Vanderbilt has answered its other questions to a level I think is certainly satisfactory. So thank you guys for watching. God bless, and we'll be back if Vanderbilt gets another commitment or if there's more portal news in the next few weeks. So thank you guys for watching. God bless. Peace.